So, I just want to make some comments about this thing I just watched. You know, Miriam Bialik, who has a podcast and she's famous for being an actress. I know her from Big Bang Theory, and other people know her from when she was also like acting when she was younger, but I don't know about that. And I was just, being like, let me cook, let me like, did the dishes today, which was cool. Uh, what was cool was that I actually was like, I need to, it would be beneficial for me to like do some focused action on purpose instead of kind of like feeling mm, like I'm dragging through, just doing what I need to do in any particular like something wants me to be sick, but I'm not sick. Something's trying to like scratch at my throat to cough, but I haven't been feeling that way. I haven't like it's just a thing. And so or maybe something doesn't want me to talk. That's what it might be as well. She had a podcast that she uploaded with this man whose name I think is something like Todd Tall Man or something. Something. And right before then I was watching one of these like compilation videos. There's a channel, and they make like compilation videos of all these different strange things that are bizarre or like paranormal or spooky or like strange conspiracy stuff because I just find that stuff really interesting nowadays. I don't know what happened, but like there was a time when all of a sudden I started watching all of that. Like a few weeks ago it started. And that's like the only thing that's interesting to me now, you know. And so I was like, okay, I'll watch this stuff while doing the dishes and cooking and everything else while I'm eating. And so I'm watching all this stuff. I think it's because I'm trying to get to the truth. That's what it is. Because I'm like, if I see weird stuff, like if I see footage from a restaurant where objects are being moved by nothing, then it proves that the spiritual realm is real and there's things that are happening from the spiritual realm to the physical realm. What does that mean? Or like if I see all these like Hollywood or government people talking about things like the Nephilim or Gilgamesh or like what if I see footage of like the Olympic opening ceremony being this like creepy demons possessing nurses and children being um, attacked by all these demon forces, and I'm like, there's no in my normal life I would never be aware of that having happened because I'm like I don't pay attention to anything that happens in the world. I just live my life and try to like make it. I just survive. And so like it's really beneficial for me because I'm genuinely like I never knew that the Olympics started to have all these weird like demonic art installations and art theater before the Olympic Games. And that makes no sense because it's like the Olympic Games are about countries like competing to show their best athletes. Like in what universe would you need to even have a theater before the opening of the Olympic Games? Like I'm like I remember the Olympic Games being about like if there was an opening ceremony for the Olympic Games, it's going to be like a person running with a torch, like it's lit, like the torch is lit, and they're like running to places somewhere, like something related to sports, right? It's the Olympic Games. Like, why would you need to do a stage with children sleeping in a hospital and nurses? What in the hell does that have to do with the fucking Olympics? Do you know what I mean? And so I'm like, I would never know about that. And they're showing it, and it's not just them showing it. All these other people are talking about the fact that that's what the Olympic Games keep having. And I'm like, why? Like, who made those choices? What is happening? If I didn't watch these conspiracy style video channels, I wouldn't know about like all these Mandela effects. Do you know what I mean? I would not know about people connecting CERN, a physics operation, to Mandela effects. Like, because my rational brain would still just trust that scientists are about science. I would trust that scientists don't care about spiritual things because they're the people in reality who are annoyed when people bring in the spiritual as a substitute for knowledge. That's what I thought scientists were like. All of a sudden, I'm finding out that scientists are like trying to open portals. I'm like, what? You're not scientists. What is this shit? I would never believe it if I didn't watch these like conspiracy style channels. And it's like, they're not conspiracies. They're just showing clips of actual shit. Like today I saw, and I'm like, I have to look up this article. Did this really happen? Like, there was they were showing this clip of, it's like an article, and then there's a woman actually giving a like a presentation, like apologizing on behalf of CERN because they think that they have destroyed 5 parallel universes through their activities. I saw that and I was like, look, now this is either a lie, or I'm going to go on the internet and I'm going to look up CERN representative apologizing for destroying 5 parallel universes potentially. Like, it's either true or it's false. And if I find out that it's true, that an actual scientist, like representative from CERN, made that like statement, I'm gonna be like, so like, because the second that I actually like saw that part of the video, my immediate reaction was like, well, if they're lying to me, it's pretty bad that this video includes this lie. But I feel like they're not lying to me because they wouldn't put it in this video. Like, if it wasn't an actual like article someone found and then like mailed into them to like consider putting in their video. So, and then my initial, like, my full reaction in that moment, assuming that what I'm seeing is true, that CERN really did apologize for potentially destroying 5 parallel universes, my reaction was like, well, just fuck it. My reaction was like, we deserve whatever we get. We deserve whatever we get. We deserve whatever happens next. If we destroyed 5 universes because of our shit as humanity, we deserve whatever. I had this feeling of like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry my species is such like destructive cancer. Like, I'm just so sorry that human beings suck so bad. I'm just so sorry that like we are hurting anyone else. Like, it's bad enough we're hurting like our own species. It's bad enough we're hurting the animals of the planet. It's bad enough we're destroying the eco balance of the earth that I love so much, but now we're destroying other realms. You said universes. You didn't say we destroyed a planet. Like, you said universes. You said 5 of them were destroyed by our stupid asses on earth. We're just done. Just destroy us now. Just wipe us out before we become any more of a threat to anyone else. Just kill us off. Just delete it. Press delete. Just make it like a light flash so that no one feels any pain and then we're gone. Cancel this culture of consciousness. Just take us out. Protect life. That was my emotion. And then it was kind of bizarre. I was like, oh, I had this, there was this thought that occurred afterward. It's just curious. And so I want to like mention it. After that, I had this thought come in that was like, oh, like, you know how you felt that although you're not the one who are like the director of CERN, responsible for doing whatever experiments they said may have wiped out 5 universes, you feel that like you want like humanity wiped out, like not wiped out, like you want humanity deleted. so that it doesn't hurt anyone else. Like, you know how you're comfortable completely in this moment to like include yourself in that? You didn't say like save me because I'm a good person, but just like wipe out the bad guys. You said just kill all of it. There was like this thought that came in, and I'm not trying to give it some kind of like, and that was an angel's. Nah, I'm just saying it's interesting. Like there was like this thought that floated by after I had that emotional reaction, and it was like, you see how like you were completely like you took on like the blame along with like the rest of the people, like you took on like the blame for all of humanity, to be like, we should like, because some of us are that terrible, we should just be wiped out. And there was this thought that was like, and that's how the fourth generation of like sin works or whatever. And then there was this idea of like, and that's how, and then the idea of like feeling like because the threat of humanity is so real, and like no one should suffer humanity's bullshit, humanity like should just be like deleted, you know. And then it was like the idea of like, right, but like Jesus and the God doesn't want to delete you because he loves you so much, and he like wants to like and that's why he like died, because like the punishment, like the deleting that like humanity should experience, like he took that on or whatever. And I was like, what is this like Christian attempt to like bring me back in to whatever? But it was just interesting that like thought pattern like floated in, and I was like curious, but I'm not listening, you feel me? And so what? And so I was watching all of that kind of stuff, and then I was like, okay, I've had like about enough, you know? And then I had this scrolling, this recommended or like whatever video came up of like the recent podcast uploaded to Miriam Bialik's podcast channel. And it was this guy. Oh, but here's the part I was trying to say. I think like one of the last scenes in one of those conspiracy compilation videos was about like a man, a pilot of some European country, and he went over Antarctica, and he was giving like his comments on what he was seeing over radio, and he was describing how like he was seeing Greenland, not Greenland, but like he was seeing like land with grass on it and not just like frozen over, you know, land mass. And he was seeing woolly mammoths, you know. And then he was like describing that as he kept flying, he saw something else. Then as he kept flying, there was this light that was like engulfing him. All he could see was light. And the next thing he could see was him flying, and next to him were these two saucers with swastikas on them, and there were aliens inside. You feel me? And I think like in the video they said something like they were gray aliens, or like tall whites, or one of those like names for one of these aliens that people have apparently discovered, because there's all these people who have like given species names to aliens, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Are they real? Is this bullshit? I don't know. But it was one of those names, either the tall whites or the gray aliens. It was something like that. And then the video ended with that like being the last thought, and that was the end of that particular video, you know? And then in my like scrolling and suggestions, all of a sudden what my attention landed on, like maybe I should watch this, was the Miriam Bialik podcast with this man who has a book called like Light After Death, The Light After Death or something, and his name is something like Todd Tall Man or something, I don't know. But I remember the very first subtle thought that I had as this was happening, I was like, they're possibly trying to like what's it called, like when somebody makes a doofus out of you, they're possibly trying to like pull one over on me, because they think I'm not gonna notice how you just were talking about some tall grays or like tall whatever the fuck or gray aliens. And all of a sudden you're giving me a podcast and the guy's name is Todd, which in German means death. And then his last name has the word like tall in it or something. And I'm like, right. Do you see like the correlation I just made? Like I just watched the end of this video. There's some Nazi like fucking swastika fucking labeled saucers. He's like flying over Antarctica, this pilot. And all of a sudden I'm watching a video presented to me about like all these wonderful things that this man is going to tell me about because he had a near-death experience, and his name is Todd, meaning death in German, bitch. And his like last name has the word tall in it. I'm like, right. Do you see what I just motherfucking saw? You see like how I'm thinking like you're planting this video in front of me to like make me take in this information, not understanding that I don't motherfucking care about anything you guys motherfucking want to tell me, because I don't believe any of you. I never trust anything you show me. I'm like, it doesn't feel right. Because what is he talking about in there? This Todd guy. He's like, yes, I died inside of Dairy Queen, and then I had this like guide show me stuff, and then like the things that were the lessons that he got from like this other realm, these 10 lessons for humanity, or just like for life, you know? Like, first of all, Earth is a playground. They call it Earth School, and lots of people want to be here, and there's like a wait list to get into Earth to experience what Earth is able to provide. It's a school of like learning lessons that if you want to evolve a lot, Source can give that to you, but you have to go through these like, you know, like what's it called, like, it's essentially the idea of like suffering is a way to be tempered like steel to become stronger. And I'm like, this once again is something that I don't care about. This idea is bullshit to me. Love does not work like that. You know, I'm like, I'm hearing you. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. It's not laying down for me. Then there was one of his things that was like, the necessity of evil, or like the benefit of evil. And I'm like, once again, every single fucking time you guys try to sell me this idea that if there was no evil, there would be no good, I'm like, I'm not listening. Because it just feels like total bullshit to me. I'm like, you can't awe me with near-death experience crap. I'm like, I don't give a crap. This is just what this guy thought up while he was having his experience. This is just his interpretation that he accepted, because some consciousness put this together for him, and it was all incredible for him, and this is what he believes. Like, it means nothing to me. I'm like, my whole like thing is like affect narcotics. Like, if you give someone who is a lower dimensional consciousness, or like a lower level consciousness, a lower power consciousness, the experience of an intense like emotional overwhelm, even if it's joy, or like the experience of power. He said if the people on Earth experience the energy coming off of his spiritual guide, they would worship it. And I was like, that doesn't mean anything. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, it just means that that person experienced a very intense emotional experience. It doesn't mean that it's good. It doesn't mean that it's telling the truth. And all I'm able to go back to, it's like, it's just the archons and the Gnostic description of the demiurge and being in a predicament to which there's no solution yet. I have nothing else to tell you guys. I have nothing else, but it's like I need to like express like, hi, I heard this story, listen to it for an hour, and at the end of it, I still call bullshit. And then the fucked up part was he was severely abused when he was a child. He was beaten severely by his father. And he was describing how he would dissociate from his body and float up, and so that he wouldn't feel the pain that his body was feeling when his father would like severely beat him. Like, he said like his scalp would like be ripped off of his like skull in pieces, you know? And I'm just like, wow, like, can you imagine like a child, like a tiny baby boy, like a tiny boy child, like a 7-year-old, having their father beat him with sticks or belt buckles, or like just the belt itself, or 2x4 metal objects. And you're telling me that like you agreed to this. I'm like, do you not know who I am? Like, do you not know like my nature is not your sadistic nature? Like, whenever people or consciousnesses that are like evil try to tell me something through these videos and these stories, I'm like, you don't understand the nature of good at all, do you? You know how there's like that like quote from the Bible that's like, the light shines in the darkness and the darkness does not understand it. I'm like, it seems to be completely true. It's like, you don't, just like I don't understand the nature of evil. I don't get it. I'm like, I don't understand how you don't want to set yourself on fire for, on purpose, like hunting someone and trying to hurt them and getting your sadist experience out of it. Like, I don't understand. I can't understand it. I don't understand. And I'm like, in the same sense, whenever you try to tell me these stories about, try to convince me that like it's all your choice and it's all in the end like balanced and makes sense, I'm like, you don't understand the nature of good. You just don't get it. Like, you don't understand that when I hear these stories, I'm like, who in the fuck is thinking that this is gonna fly with me? Like, who thinks that this is like something that I could ever accept? Like, you don't get it. Like, you don't get love, you don't get goodness, you don't get any of it. You don't get it. You don't understand. Like, a loving God would never allow a small child to be beaten with a 2x4 and say that in some fucking way this is something you chose and that somehow this is all for some greater good or for your evolution. That is not fucking possible. And so I described how confusion is a thing that happens uh, because of the monoculture. So we're gonna get some communist thoughts up in here, some communist ideas, okay? What I just mean, like thinking done by the people that are called communists, because it's not really about like political structures. It's about like, it's kind of like Buddhism or like, well, I mean, I don't know what else. Like Buddhism is kind of like, Buddhism might be unique in a certain sense because the idea of Buddhism is like, you don't know what's going on, and when something seems like it is the explanation for what's going on, watch out because it still might not be the explanation. Buddhism is very like scientific and it's like reticence to fall into explanations just because it seems like it might be the truth. It's more like a studying spirituality, I feel like, than other spiritualities that I've heard about. Uh, and communism is the same way, where it's like communism is not about a political structure. It's not about, it's like, it's definitely not about gulags and state control. It's like the opposite. I'm like, the idea of the communism in its essence is the idea that like human beings should not live under a government. Like that's what it's about. That's the idea. Like the concept behind the word communism, it's like people shouldn't live under governments because governments will always be unbalanced to the people and they will always exploit them. Like that's the essential like seed idea behind the word communism. And like I've never heard anyone talk about it. And I never realized it until I had the experience of as if all these like dead Soviet people protecting me and giving me fortitude during like 2020, 2021, 2022 when I was dying, realizing the true nature of America and being like, oh, this is Nazi Germany when it didn't get defeated in the war. The USA is Nazi Germany when it was never stopped. That's what the fuck the USA is. And now with these e-files coming out and this whole like, yeah, you know those like pedophilic Satan worshippers like being the goddamn fucking power structure behind the American goddamn state? Oh, well that makes total sense if you understand the USA is Nazi Germany when it was never defeated. But like when I was realizing all that shit back in 2020, 2020, 21, 2020, 22, I was like, I feel like I am having like the veil taken off my eyes, but it's not a spiritual thing. It's a history thing and three-dimensional like human life thing. And it's so much weirder and scarier because it's like, hi, you know when you go outside and you see those people and they're giving you those looks of like us, like whipped up sadism, joy, and white supremacy. You know where that comes from? When you just read it in a history book and then being like, I'm just going to the park or I'm just going to the grocery store, or I'm just going to the library. And these people who are the children of all those people back in those fucking times when slavery was still a thing are literally looking at me with that same kind of fucking like death lust for my life. And I'm just kind of like, oh my god, I get it all. This is so creepy. And everyone who is normal around me, all the cool kids, all the liberals, all the fucking like bus drivers, all the people who are still living in like 2017 style like sense of reality, they don't get it. And I'm just walking and being like, I'm like walking through living history, because history is always living. Everything that's happening all the time in whatever country is always just the next like reaching of the history that just was. And the second that you have that like plugging in to the living sense of history happen, if you ever have that experience, you feel terrified. If you're in America, realizing it's just Nazi Germany when it was never defeated, like, I am freaking out. Like, I can't do this. Like, oh my god. And then the weird part is, the second that you get that awareness, they pick up that you now get the awareness. It's almost like the second that you're aware, and it's not like a spiritual thing, it's like a history, like facts being placed inside your mind container, like records of events, and they're just sitting in library books in public libraries in the States. Like, you could just read stuff, and then it's just all sitting in there, and then at some point all those nodes of information, they naturally like snap into a picture and you see it. And then the second you see it, everyone who's like the evil fucker who's under the radar and invisible while you're like not aware of stuff is almost like suddenly sensing that you are one of these people who knows or gets it. And then all of a sudden you become kind of like they're just aware of you, and you feel like you show up on some radar as like a aware person. And it's not the same thing as if you were just to like hear people talk about like, yeah, and this, that, and like the man and like the government. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. It's not about that sense of like, yeah, they're doing something against us. That's not, that sense is pointing to that map of, it's not even a map, it's like a structure of knowledge. It's like a structure of information. It's like information, and you know, like, you know, the Martin Luther King Jr., when he was like, knowledge is like power. It's genuinely like, it's not about like knowledge is power, yes, go to university and discuss these great ideas in the classroom. That's not what I'm talking about. Because people can sit in the classroom and give off their impressions and give off their inklings and give off their opinions and give off regurgitations, and people will sit there and they'll feel cool, they're discussing certain topics, but there won't be any actual information points like placed inside the mind container. And what I would like to say is that it's the information placed inside the mind container. I'm talking about actual facts being placed inside the mind container, like nodes, like little points, like coordinates. You know how like you can draw like the X and Y coordinate and like the Z coordinate to make a 3D space, and you can just place like coordinates, like points. I'm talking about that, like information, knowledge of like, I know that there were European Americans who were like attached to a horse with a rope and dragged through the main square of some town in America because they were on the side of thinking that black people or African slaves were people who should not be enslaved. Like, I know that because I read it. And it seems like, okay, cool, whatever. I was like, no. And then you read the next thing. I know about that woman who was hung up in like a closet, shirtless, by a rope, her hands up, you know, like, and she was sadistically, like, brutally whipped by this white, like, enslaver of her, while this little African boy was hiding in the closet watching that woman who was his aunt go through that. I read that. I felt the emotions that he described that he felt. I felt he described what the European enslaver sadist, akin to the e-file satanic pedophile torturers. It's the same energy. I know. It's like I was in that room and I saw, and that's when I realized. I was like, white people. Oh. That's a node of information. That's not a feeling. That's not discussing like things in a nebulous way of like mass movements and like no, it's like actual information because you read it. And then you feel me? I know that because I read it. I know about how when like I read that when he ran away, the African slave, there were these two white guys who were chasing him and chasing him and chasing him. And reading that piece of information, it might seem like, of course, we know that that kind of stuff happened. It's like, no, but you don't know. If you know in a nebulous way, you don't know. It's not a node of information in your brain container, in your mind container. Because what I'm trying to say is that when you have those little facts placed inside your mind container because you read sentences, all those little like facts come together to show a picture, and then you can see the true nature or essence of something. But if you're given these swaths of nebulous stories that don't give those specific like facts, you don't ever get the essence. You just have this feeling that like the man is doing something. It's like right, but you never like click into like the true, like it never aligns for you to like see the picture. And then one of the things that does when you do read and you have those points of information added to your mind container, and then therefore it's like the picture, then it's like this, like the portrait of something can be revealed because every single one of those nodes of information, those facts, they all are like pixels that then at some point after you read enough, it shows you the invisible face. The face of the thing becomes visible. Until you get all those pixels of information, the face of the thing is invisible to you. And you're getting like secondhand stories from people who also don't have the face of the thing clear to them. Okay, and so when that happens, when you get the clear face of the thing, like when I say America is Nazi Germany when it was never defeated in the war, I'm not trying to be spicy. I'm trying to be like, hi, like that's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. And it's like you will believe it. What I mean is you'll accept it as like the true amplitude and not an exaggeration if you read the stuff. Because you have to be aware of like the sadism in its actual like, you have to be witness to the sadism to understand the sadism as real. And so when this guy is talking about some, because I have to finish this one part. Like if you're in shock because you're like, I can't believe they did that. At some point you'll be able to be distracted to move on because you never got like it never got rooted in your like mental awareness in your mind container because you never had all those nodes of information reveal the true face of the thing to you so that you can never shake it off. People were like, the E-files were released, all of a sudden they're talking about aliens being real, the disclosure to like get people to not think about the E-files and all that means. And it's like, right. It seems like that's the worst thing you could ever find out, those E-files and all that shit that was in there. But then it's like, you have to actually like, at some point understand like the unbroken like linear story of the United States. So that by the time something like the E-files is released to you or revealed to you, it can never be like, it can never go anywhere. If you have a chance in hell of like being a people who create a different reality, you know? Because you'll never be motivated to, like, action, I guess. Like, you'll never be, like, sickened beyond a certain threshold of disgust that you can never, like, tolerate. And now all of a sudden, like, things just really, like, have to be different. Not because you're, like, emotionally experiencing discomfort or, like, despair, but because you're like, I'm so sickened and disgusted on every level. I'm exhausted. And now it's like things just have to be different and things just can't be tolerated in the same way because I'm just like thoroughly sickened and like there's no like way for me to like go into escapism, which is I think how I left the States, because I was like, the idea of leaving the States and going back to this particular society where I'm in now, like that was never gonna happen. I was never gonna leave the States to come back to this part. It was never gonna happen. I was like, I'm gonna do what? Nah, at least like in the States there's black people. You know what I mean? At least in the States, like there's people who look like me, so I can like not be singled out and like attacked and like not understood and like feel super isolated. And it's like by the time that I like understood the true face of America, I was like, yeah, I can't stay here. This is really dangerous. I gotta go. It's like, why? How did that happen? How did I find the resources to leave? It's like, right, history books and getting those nodes of information. Nodes of information is power. You feel me? The truth will set you free. Like, the truth is just like nodes of information. It's just actually having those pieces of information in your mind container. Okay. And so when this guy is like, I had an NDE and Earth is Earth School and evil has a purpose and understanding the purpose of evil, and how it's actually like one of the ways that good like evolves and becomes stronger, and I'm just like, yo, no, I don't accept this. uh, you can tell me that there's like beautiful lands of singing flowers and love everywhere, and I'll be like, affect narcotics. It's the same thing as drugs or alcohol. You're just giving me an experience of being like, what's the word? Like pleasure. And so I'm like, I want to stay here. I'm like, it's the same idea as like drinking a beer. It's not proof, you know? And I'm like, the essence of the thing is you're saying evil is excusable. And I'm like, but it isn't. Evil is not necessary for good. There is no such thing as balance depending on evil and good. It's not a thing. I'm like, that's not real. Your entire NDE experience and this entire suggestion of, oh, but it's Miriam Bialik. And oh my god, like everyone is like saying the same thing. I'm like, so what? And that's what I meant when I said the confusion, because the confusion is here, because you know, it's like I'm sitting here and I'm saying all this stuff, but I'm just expressing my emotional rejection because I want to record it to give myself a propping up against the influence. Like I described in a video yesterday, it's like, or the day before, it's like all these billions of brains are thinking certain thoughts and accepting certain premises. And I am just one human brain. I'm not like, you know, what am I trying to say? Like, how do I say it? Like, being like sane, or like not feeling the because people are always trying to push this idea of like, you against the world will try to push on you and change who you are, and you have to resist it. Yes, it's a hero's journey. Like, yes, you're supposed to be one against the universe is wrong about something. You're supposed to be the blah 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 blah. And we're all raised in this idea of like, oh, resist the thing and like be this blah blah blah. Like, blitch. Like, I am literally one brain, and I'm just not interested in having to have some kind of like, what's it called? Like, what would be the word? I'm interested in math and a kind of sanity that I don't really perceive often around me, and like zero judgment or shade to any humans at all. Like, everyone's in a predicament everyone who's a normal good person. And I'm just saying, like, I want something else. Like, I want a kind of mathematics and sanity that I don't normally see, and so I'm just reaching for something new and fresh that I myself have not perceived. And I'm just gonna go there because it's what I want. And what I mean is to say, it's not about overcoming anything. That like vibe of like that like theatrical hero's journey crap. I'm like, no, it's just math and sanity. Like, I'm one brain, I'm one system of consciousness. I have a limited amount of, and because I'm one, and there's billions, it's the effect of influence, or the reality of influence is real, and the reality of influence of like even like dozens of brains is a real reality, that my one brain, after experiencing neglect, abuse, trauma, gaslighting, not being believed, I'm one against all these people. The effect of other people accepting something or wanting me to accept something is a real thing that my one brain is going to have to deal with. And so as a mathematician, I'm like, that's a problem for me. I have to resolve it because I have to get to the correct destination, like, in my life. Okay, I see that there. Do you see what I'm trying to say? I'm like a physicist with it. I'm like, saying all this is a way to bolster my power against dozens and like hundreds of people through logic. Because logic is magic, you guys. Okay, logic is magic. Logic is magic. Like 2 + 2 = 4 is magic. I just want to sing the praises of logic and math. Like, mathematics is your like friend. Like, logic, you guys, logic, because it's like this leverage that gives you power against like numbers of people. Like, there's one you, and confusion is what happens, and doubt. But it's like confusion, because the point of like being abused, neglected, traumatized is that your brain doesn't have like a powerful state of being. Like, if you're abused or traumatized or hurt, you're kind of like limping through life. You're surviving. You're still like having a fighting spirit, but you're not like, you're kind of like there's like, circuitry sparking here because you're like, you know what I mean? And like, you're looking for healing. You're looking for a deeper level of safety so that you're not just in survival anymore. By you, I mean like me. Anyone who's traumatized. That's what we look for. We look for safety that is deeper than just survival. We look for healing so that we no longer are like we're not glitching. We're like experiencing the wound bleeding. If somebody traumatized you or hurt you or neglected you, you didn't receive certain things so that you would be functional in the correct way. So everything that you experience as a living human being is harder. And then you can't talk about your experience really because it's social taboo, making it even more difficult. And then there's very little like education or information from society because it's social taboo. And then everyone who is not traumatized or neglected or harmed, they're clueless to like the fact that you're not functioning in the same way as them because they have it good. They're normal. Like, their system functions normally. There's no drag on their system. There's no drain in their system. And then you, because of social taboo, because of social taboo, have to go out into society and put on the mask of being normal people with normal systems that have not been damaged as far as like the efficiency of the system and the energy circulation. Because otherwise they'll think we're uncomfortable to them, which makes us have to put out more energy that we already are like having drained from us, to like hide the fact of what we're going through to the normal people with normal systems that are not having any like holes through which their energy is draining. And so because that's the experience of people whose like consciousness systems are in that like damaged predicament, when there's like, if someone who's like been like loved properly and supported properly, they can be one brain and they can have dozens or hundreds of people saying stuff at them and they'll feel like I don't care. Like maybe like Nicki Minaj, you know, when she's like, 100 motherfuckers can't tell me nothing. It's like, right. I'm like, I have no idea how to relate to that. I'm like, that's cool. I have no idea what that kind of mental fortitude is like because I'm not you. I don't know what it is about you that like made you be impervious to the damage, but like I had different kinds of damage and one of the like wounds of the like abuse is that like I self-doubt when maybe I shouldn't. It's like it's not my problem. It's not me. It's just the nature of the like it's the nature of the damage. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Even like words like trauma, it's like it's a bit like misguiding. What's the word? Because it's like if you take something and you like beat it up and you make it like I'm trying to like see if I can like make a show like a visual of like what I mean, you know. But it's like I can't see anything in my vicinity that would like function that way. And so the point is, logic is this power because it is something that no one can argue with, and it gives you power. It gives you the power to dispel confusion that other people would inspire in you because they can't say anything to it. It's no longer about like, well, all of these people are doing all this stuff, like maybe I'm wrong. It's like that's not how it works. You know? And so I just want to encourage people to do like algebra problems. And it might sound funny, but like I just want to encourage people to do arithmetic and really understand every single mathematical concept and to really ask yourself the question of like, what does this mean? What does addition mean? Like, what does it mean, like this plus sign and this minus sign? What does multiplication and division mean? Like, really study it. And like, because it makes your brain like, it makes your mind think about logic. Like, how do you get logic in your brain? It's like you start with math. Nothing more logical than math. You start with mathematics. You start with pre-algebra. And then, weirdly, you might find that, like, you start to see how it can apply to actual human living. And that's, like, the idea behind, like gaslighting, for example. Like, why is gaslighting false? You know? It's not because your ego is stronger than the other person's ego and you're saying that they're gaslighting you. It's not a battle of ego. Because if it's a battle of ego and you're traumatized, you're always going to lose. It's a battle of logic. It's like, it just means, like, this happened. These are the things that I observed. Now, this person's over here behaving in such ways that are suggesting to me that what I perceived was of a smaller dimension. Like, I'm saying, like, let's use this for math, right? I'm saying this was the range of, like, let's say, like, my LGBT story from yesterday. I'm working at a hotel. Somehow the topic of gay people comes up. This guy from an Islamic country is like, we know how to deal with them in our country. They need to be decapitated. That's a statement. Everyone laughs. I'm feeling like I'm in some alternate universe that I don't want to be in. And it's like, they're trying to gaslight me into thinking that like it's normal to say stuff like that. They're trying to make it from a 10 to a 2. And I'm like, no, it's a 10. That's not okay. You don't kill people because of any reason that isn't them like harming you. You don't do that. You don't decapitate gay people. What the fuck? What the fuck? Do you know what I'm saying? And so like logic is about being like the 7 is a 7. It doesn't start being a 3 because you guys all together came together and laughed. So your laughter is not a variable that is stable. It's just your egos like doing something that is irrational in your brains. It's not real. And also if you do like math problems, like algebra problems, especially when they're a little bit more challenging and it feels at first like you're like, I don't understand how that could be true. And if you do a few algebra problems and then you like plug the answer, like if you watch like a person like do an algebra equation and they get an answer, and then you're like, that just seems like, what the hell just happened? But then you take the answer and you plug it into the equation, and then you actually like see that like that is the answer to that equation. You're like, whoa, like it holds. And that's when like you learn to trust yourself, because you're like, I'm not trusting myself, I'm trusting logic. And I'm trusting my own, like, because memory, like the way that they try to mess with it, it's like to say that because it happened in an earlier point in the unfolding of things, somehow it happened differently. That's what gaslighting is. I saw a thing today in one of those conspiracy like compilation videos of a black man saying that he heard one of Adolf Hitler's speeches translated by AI into English with like tone added. And he was talking about how like he was trying to suggest that Hitler was actually like understanding what Israel was going to become in the future, and that it was going to be a threat, and that he was actually like a good leader. And I was sitting there being like, even me, like I've read Night by Elie Wiesel, I've read like Hitler scientists, where like I read the way that they describe people. I read like they sound like the E-Files people. There's complete psychopathy, sociopathy, zero empathy. They don't see them as people. I've read those books. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, the confusion is happening to me. Because I'm like, I'm hearing his argument and I'm like following what he's saying. And because I'm actually listening and like giving like the space of like, if you have like a scientific preference for like how your mind functions, you're like willing to listen to anything to hear it out and to consider if it's like logic, if it's true, like logically it makes sense, like logically it holds. And so because I'm listening, like that's how I always listen. I guess it's like mathematics, right? Anyway, and I was listening, and at some point something inside of me was like, bitch, are you really fucking like listening to this right now? Like, are you really getting like any emotion of a confusion for 2 seconds, being like, is this for real? And then I was like, okay, let me just, but I gotta like let it like fly for 2 seconds. And then I was like, yeah, but like what about how he wasn't about protecting the German people, and that he was literally trying to take over Europe, and the sadism that you fucking read in all those death camps? You know that he was not trying to protect his people from some Israeli fucking takeover in the future, like, because you read the shit. And I was like, wow, this is so dangerous. It's especially dangerous because it's a black guy. Because it looks like one of the, like, people who have experienced, like, slavery and is a victim of European sadism saying this. It's very dangerous. And it's like, he's never read anything. It's as if he is defending the people who did what the Europeans did to him several centuries before when they did it to his ancestors, but he doesn't get it. And he's sitting there being like, yeah, isn't this a cool theory? Like, if you listen to Hitler's speech, it sounds like... And I'm just like, wow, like, this is the danger of people not having nodes of information in their mind computer. If he had the information, not just sitting there being like, it's a conspiracy theory. What if it's this? What if it's that? I'm like, your what-ifs are not knowledge. And this is so dangerous. You don't even understand what you're doing. You don't understand how what you're doing is supremely dangerous and detrimental to the world. And I'm just watching this being like, and every single time I do watch this my whole life, I just go into this state of like, I can't do anything about it. Like, I'm not supposed to do anything about it. I'm just supposed to kind of like forget about it and just be like, I can't believe the world is so wrong. And right now, like in this moment, I'm like, I wonder if that's incorrect. Like, am I supposed, like, even just saying this right now about what I just saw, like, is that, like, a better thing to do? Because it's, like, me saying, like, hi, I don't know how to make this not be a thing, because I can't believe someone just suggested that Hitler was on the right side of history. I can't believe that I just heard that from a black person. I can't believe I just witnessed this shit. I know that I can't just go in there and be like, hi, let me download from my mind and my brain all the nodes of information that I have about Hitler and Nazis, so you understand what you just said, and that you will immediately retract it, because you'll understand, number one, you're super wrong. Number two, you're damaging the world with this weird support for this evil. And number three, like, you had no knowledge. You know, like I know that I can't do that, and therefore it feels like I'm just gonna. But like maybe even just saying this is a point of power, like for the right side of things. Maybe it is. It kind of feels like it is, to be honest. Yeah. And so like maybe it's like a whole new practice because like the whole point of confusion and how nobody, like people are like, how are you? And it's like you don't um it's like I have no beef with anyone. It's like, how are you? People ask. Or people get together and they're like, oh, like the idea is that when people get together, they're trying to check in with everything that your life is and like how you're doing in life and in reality and how it's going for you as a living human being and consciousness. But I find that that's not at all what people are doing. And that's why I'm always like, I'm exhausted. I'm not exhausted. I'm just not interested in hanging out with people because I'm like, we're never going to talk about anything real. And because the culture of the world is not a communist culture of responsibility and thinking and knowledge, like knowing, understanding, It's not about marches. It's not about that energy of revolution. Like revolution has nothing to do with it. It's like if some people are aggressive because they're hot tempered and like myopic. They don't see very far ahead and they don't care about the well being of people. They might go into revolution mode, but it's like a revolution is really bad for people. People shouldn't be dying all over the damn place. Like every person matters. And so it's like, no, you have to educate people. You have to create a culture of knowledge and understanding. You have to foster the people. You have to actually like enlighten people, give them something that would like teach them, I guess. You know what I mean? Like you have to activate like thinking in people. You have to like math, you need logic, you need arithmetic, you need algebra, you need sanity, like speech. You need human brains like need like words that they hear that are like just like articulating what's right. Somehow it's not intrinsic, it's not instinctual. If human brains hear words that are suggesting like terrible things, they'll just take that on because they're kind of like stem cells. Human beings are in their minds. Human beings need like to hear articulated language that just literally to me it feels so like redundant and stupid. It's like every person who is a good person deserves not to be harmed by anyone. Like I didn't say anything just now to myself. I'm like, I didn't say anything. That's obvious. And it's like, but it's not obvious in a way that like if human being brains don't hear like normal stuff over and over again, and they hear a bunch of horrible shit over and over again, they just weirdly like start acting like they don't know these basic things that they do know that they know. And I've just been, I guess, like, what have I been? I've been traumatized and I have been isolated and I have been rejected by my societal group. And so I just feel like I'm not a person who has any right to do anything. Not in like a, they won't let me do it way, but like my trauma, like, profile is that like, the me that's left over after all of my traumatic experiences is someone who is silent and barely able to sense herself in the world. So the idea of like doing anything with the world to remold it is not a thing that is like, who do you think I am? You think I'm one of the, you think I'm a person? You think I'm like a normal person? You think I'm a white man? Do you think I'm a white man? Do you think I'm a white man for me to go out there and mold the world to what it should be? Who do you think I am? Who the hell do you think I am? I feel bad if somebody were to date me because I'd be like, you shouldn't be wasting your time with me. I can't give you anything. I have no spunk. I have no self confidence. There's anyone else is better than me because I'm just like an empty space. I don't actually think that about myself. Like when I'm with myself, I'm like, I'm awesome and I like myself and I would love to just live my own little like planet where everything would just be safety and love and friendship and nothing else. Like, I know I'm not bad. I know I'm not an empty space. I know I'm not worthless. I don't know how to explain it. Like, when I'm by myself, I don't feel that way about myself. But when I'm presented with other people, or like being in the context of other human beings, all of a sudden I'm like, this is my trauma profile. I'm like, you guys treated me so badly that I have no other way to feel about myself in relation to the world. So now you want me to, like, feel like maybe I can say some things that will help kids who've gone through difficult things like I have. You know? And then it's like, who do you think, like, who do you think I am? Because it's a trauma monster. Because it's not like, you know, trauma doesn't happen out of air. Trauma happens because evil consciousness harms, attacks, preys upon consciousness. And so, like, if I even these videos, I make them and I'm like, I feel weird, I feel guilty, I feel bad, I feel like anyone who watches this, I'm wasting their time. It's like, no one should be paying attention to any of this. Like, you should make better videos, make them shorter, like, make them more, like, interesting. Like, you shouldn't be putting this out there. And it's like, at the same time, it's like, I'm free, I'm not in a prison, I'm not dying in the next 2 hours from, like, a cancer. I'm not in some basement because I'm a child who's been fucking kidnapped by a pedophile. I'm not, like, suffering from anorexia. I'm not able to fucking look up from the fucking floor. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I'm like, no, I'm just a person, like, expressing myself. Nothing's wrong with that. But because of trauma monsters still preying on me, I feel bad speaking and making a video and putting it out there. It's a complete self-doubt the whole time. Or, like, shame is the word. Shame is the word. Shame. Shame. That's the word. Shame. And so I just want to say I reject this man's NDE. I reject everything that he is presenting as the thing that higher beings that he says he met would say about suffering on the planet, because I think it's as detrimental as a psychotic model of reality that the biblical account presents to people. I think it's as psychotic. Evil is not a balance to good. Evil is a disease. Evil is sick. Evil is sadism. Evil is something that destroys children. And I'm so sorry that when you were a child, you were so harmed and so destroyed that your trauma profile is that even though you went through that horrible experience, you don't get that that should never happen to kids, and that it is not excused by any fucking function that evil purportedly has. I'm sorry that that happened to you, and that's how much it broke you. And I think you're really dangerous for the world, because you're suggesting to other people who were children, who went through that shit, that somehow what happened to them was all right. You're wrong. And whoever the hell your spiritual guides are not good for you. That's what I have to say.